Melissa Carter, 34, and her business built from nothing. Deed to a debt-free condo, the sound of it landing on the table in front of her brother instead of her sister, and her parents' hidden scheme falling apart in that same instant. Here's how it happened. For a full decade, my family treated my company like a passing hobby, all while funneling every spare dollar toward my sister's medical training. The turning point came on my brother's graduation night when I pushed a paid-off condo's deed across the dinner table to him and watched my parents' quiet plan to bleed my finances dry unravel in front of everyone. My name is Melissa Carter, I'm 34, and this all began on an evening when I was wrapped in blankets fighting off the flu, and my mother's call came through. Her tone was clipped, all business. She said your sister's last tuition installment is coming due, that things were stretched thin, just one more payment, $20,000. I pointed out that wasn't stretched thin. That was a down payment on a house. She fired back, telling me not to blow it out of proportion, that this was about Vanessa's future, not my little internet venture, and surely that online business of mine had some cash to spare. That little internet venture was actually a company I had built out of a garage at age 24. By that point, it had 15 employees, operated from a 20,000 square foot warehouse, and shipped products to 30 countries. To my family, though, it still didn't measure up to my sister's white coat. I told my mother I had nothing extra to give. It wasn't true, but I needed that boundary more than I needed honesty in that moment. She hung up on me without another word. Within minutes, my sister texted, calling me selfish. Then her fiancé Derek jumped in too, telling me not to stir up trouble. That single word, trouble, lodged itself in my mind. This wasn't just one person lashing out. It was 3 people converging on me within the same hour, almost like it had been planned. So I reached out to my financial advisor, Monica, and asked her to discreetly look into my parents' finances along with my sister's records. What she found the next day hit like a bombshell. My parents had refinanced their home 2 years prior and taken out 3 additional loans totaling nearly $400,000. Every one of them co-signed by my sister with her future earnings pledged as collateral. That tuition payment wasn't tuition at all. It had already been settled. This new demand was just to keep up with interest payments and stave off default. And the discoveries kept coming. My father had been officially reprimanded years back for steering elderly clients into risky investments, and his license had barely survived the fallout, though his income hadn't. My sister's future salary had become his financial lifeline. Worse still, hidden in her school records were signs of academic dishonesty. Exam responses that matched other students' answers. If that came to light, her entire degree could be wiped out. They weren't looking out for family. They were siphoning resources from me and using my sister's future as the tool to do it. I refused to sit back and wait for their next move. I texted my father asking to meet him at his office. He answered warmly, calling me sweetheart, clearly still assuming I'd fold easily. Once I got there, surrounded by photographs of my sister with none of me in sight, he proposed pooling our money into a family fund, starting with wiping out her debt. I asked him directly whether he wanted my company's earnings to cover her loans. He flinched, then insisted that's simply what family does for each other. I told him there was an issue with that plan. My company wasn't his to draw from. 80% of it was locked inside an irrevocable trust built strictly for reinvestment and growth, inaccessible to anyone, myself included, on impulse. His expression drained of color. He accused me of scheming behind his back. I reminded him he'd never once taken my work seriously enough to offer guidance on it. He threatened to turn my brother against me. I told him to go right ahead to tell Marcus the truth, that I was protecting what I'd built from the wreckage he'd made of his own affairs. That same night, I contacted a broker and purchased a condo for my brother Marcus, paid fully in cash, titled solely in his name, close to his new job. He'd spent his entire life quietly living in our sister's shadow, never once asking for anything for himself. If anyone in that family deserved something given freely, with no conditions attached, it was him. After that, the voicemails poured in. My mother in tears over my supposed ingratitude, my sister shouting accusations that I was jealous and stashing money away, Derek threatening to turn my brother against me unless I dissolved the trust. I kept every single recording as evidence. At Marcus's graduation dinner, my mother lifted her glass to toast Vanessa, our soon-to-be doctor, once again pushing my brother's celebration to the background. That's when I stood, agreed that family should look out for one another, and slid the folder over to Marcus, and the deed to a fully paid condo, his name only on the title. Silence fell over the table. My father muttered under his breath that the money was meant for her loans, unintentionally confirming everything I'd suspected. I calmly laid out the full picture: the $500,000 in debt, the professional censure, the academic fraud threatening to unravel my sister's degree. My mother let out a scream. My sister went pale as a sheet. My father pounded his fist on the table. Marcus opened the folder, eyes glistening, and asked if everything I'd said was true. Then he stood and walked out. I went after him, and for the first time in my life, someone in that family actually asked if I was doing okay. The consequences arrived quickly after that. My parents defaulted on their loans and lost their home. My father's license was stripped entirely. My mother's standing in the community crumbled. My sister was dismissed from her residency once the cheating scandal broke, and with her credit destroyed, she ended up working at a low-paying clinic in a rural town tied to decades of debt. Derek ended their engagement within weeks. Months later, I got a single text from my mother: "Your father is sick. We need help." I blocked the number. Now I sit in my office looking out over the company they spent 10 years brushing off as a hobby. No more shadows trailing behind me. Just everything I built. Finally safe, finally mine.